I am involved with our interoperability strategy. I wear sort of two hats at Microsoft. I run our Windows Server business. Just a couple days ago, launched one of my products, Windows Server 2008, that we're very excited about. And I also run a group called Platform Strategy. Platform Strategies are a group that thinks about how do we interoperate with other non-Microsoft technologies. Large part of that is open source, but it also means other types of technologies as well. Oracle, SAP, customized applications that people may have. So a lot of my background has been, as a matter of fact, all of my background before I joined Microsoft 4 years ago was in a world of non-Microsoft technologies, Unix systems, Linux and open source systems, proprietary systems, both at IBM, where I worked before, as well as prior. So I spent a considerable amount of time thinking about non-Microsoft technologies with that role. What we announced last week, the interoperability announcement, was in many ways a milestone point in our overall interoperability journey. The message last week was about access to protocol and API documentation. The thing that developers have asked us for consistently, open source developers, commercial developers, businesses that make their own applications running on Windows or using Microsoft software, the principal ask has been allow us to write an application in the same way that you write an application for Windows in Redmond. All my time here, no customer or developer has asked me to the source code for Windows. And most of the knowledgeable people tell me that, going further, say, and don't ever give me the source code to Windows. It is many millions. It's one of the biggest pieces of software on the planet. And the people who make Windows run, I mean, every day it's like a human body, right? People are making sure the thing is breathing and ticking and blood's flowing. But they don't want source code. They want to write an application like we can write an application. They want to know, how does Outlook talk to Exchange? They want to know, how does IE work with Windows? They want to know, how do I get information out of SQL Server just like you do with SharePoint? That's what they want. They don't want the source code for SQL. How does Active Directory replicate? How does Active Directory communicate? How does our backup software, have you ever used Windows Backup? How does your backup software work? What's the API for the backup software to communicate to the Windows operating system? In depth, ad nauseum. Too much information than you would ever want, but it matters to developers. People used to come and ask us for a special license or ask her for a special agreement on a one-on-one basis. There was more of a change inside the company last week than I think most people realized. Because now the engineers have to think a little bit differently. They have to think about, when I write an application in the future, anyone at any given point in time, small to large, can access my application any way they want. They don't say that because it's a bad thing. They say it because it could be a dependency they have to think about in the future. Let me give you an example. Even inside Microsoft, there's often competing engineering groups. So the Windows group may fight with the Office group, they might fight with the SQL group. And even inside Microsoft, we have certain protocols and APIs that we share, Exchange to Windows or whatever it may be, which we're publishing now. Often those groups would be hesitant to tell the other group all the information about their interfaces, because if they change something then on their interface, let's say you're Windows, and you change something, all this other stuff could break if they took a dependency on what you changed. So there's this weird cultural thing that happens here about trust and who's going to use what. But what happened last week for the engineers is not only is all that open, but beyond the 70,000 employees of Microsoft, the whole planet can take a dependency on it, which really is a liminal moment, because now the engineers have to be tremendously smart about what is it that they have to think about testing. So I think we're going to see a huge blossom of open source applications on Windows. I think we're going to see commercial applications grow. Why is that important? It has nothing to do with legal issues at all, for me. It's important because the fundamental issue of our business model at Microsoft, the secret, I'm going to give you the secret of Microsoft. Here it is, right here. developers. Are there any protocols or APIs that are not documented? So what we said last week is, because we had to pick a point in time. We can't say, essentially 30 years of software, everything is instantly there. So we said for our high volume products, Server 2008, Office, SQL, Windows, SharePoint, am I forgetting any? Exchange. We will, for those current versions of right now, we will put that information up. And as we go forward, each set of documentation we'll put up here, and that will, each set of documentation that we publish will also come with the information related to patents. What's the patent overlap for those? So we had to pick a point in time. We couldn't do all of it.